Hey, how are you?
Good. Well, good relatively speaking, but I think that's everybody. How are you?
I'm good. A little stressed, lots going on.
Yeah.
It's snowing here in Maryland, so just trying to cope. COVID numbers are up, just trying to cope.
Right. I'm over it. Right. I think today we're in the mood of like over it. What do you think I'm always bouncing all over the place. So last time we didn't introduce ourselves. Should we do that? Because I
Let's do
hate
that.
introductions.
Yep.
Okay.
You are.
Dion. I'm gonna try to get myself together. I'm Dionne Brown-Bushrod. As I say to everyone, Dion is just fine because Brown-Bushrod is a lot to say at the end. 20 plus years, mental health clinician, identified as a clinical social worker, practice in Maryland. I hate introductions, Candice. So that's
That's
all I
pretty good
got.
though.
What do you
Yeah.
have?
I have, it's so funny. I'm Candice Dickens, everyone. I have been in practice over 20 years. It's funny. When I was a new therapist, I would say, I've been here 5 years, 10 years. And then, and then it's like age. When you get over a period, like when you're 10, you're like, I'm 10 and a half. When you get over a number of years, you're like, over 20.
I'm over 20. Right? Don't date me. Don't date me.
Amazing. you
Over 20,
know,
that's all I got. That's all you need.
because it creates that experience where it creates like a gap. And I
Yeah.
think the same thing happens that when you tell people either what you do for a living or what degree you have, um, it creates that experience where there's that gap, where they don't see you as
Yeah.
relatable or they see you here.
And I think that's the thing that I don't like about introductions is I don't like the gap. That once you start, like instantly, I'm Dion, and then I got to add Brown Bushrod. So that means I'm married, and then that means, then you get into the professional stuff, and then it's further separation of what you do professionally. Then it's further separation of what's your education status, and then your
Yeah,
specialties, and that's a long conversation.
it is, which is why it's nice that share is just share. I just want to be Candace.
I just
But
exactly.
yeah, but then I become Candice Richardson Dickens. da, da, da. And someone even because Dickens is my married name, and people are like, "Oh, this is Candice R. Dickens." No, 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 no,
I don't know. Don't
no,
right.
no.
And then at the same time, don't shorten my life
Don't
either.
right. Don't.
Let me explain it on my own terms, which is long-winded, right?
Yeah.
Like that we want to encapsulate our lives in these short sound bites, like the elevator speech. But
Mm,
we're way more detailed than that.
absolutely. So what brings up for me is what you said the last time about what you call yourself is important. When you said, "Why can't we just be Black? Why do we have to be BIPOC?" And it minimizes our ethnic or cultural identity.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. And it just the minimization of it all. And
Mhm.
then people have to live up to being minimized. It's like then
Absolutely.
you have to like live in this space of your identification, right? Like, and you've got to be that thing all the time. So that kind of
Mm.
reminds me of a year ago when you said we should do this, and I'm all up in my
I just
feelings
say
all the
it.
time, right?
I just, I don't want
She's
to
like, I
brag, but I
told
had to
you.
brag.
So like, but we had this conversation almost well over a year ago. Uh,
Hmm.
like people wonder what do therapists think about,
Mm.
right? Because just even that identification as therapist, you're supposed to be
Mm.
this kind of thing. And
Yeah.
then you add Black therapists, and then you're supposed to be this kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like that there are these threads that are common with
Mm.
us, but we're people. And now I sound like a social worker, right? Like we're people underneath it all.
But people, treat us based upon who they think we are. Like I always say to people, when I go on a plane, I'm not kin to the therapist because once I tell you what I do, for the whole plane ride, I'm hearing your problems when you were in marital counseling. And it's, oh, that's so interesting. What do you think about this?
What do you think about?
Think about getting a free soda, the peanuts. And you tell me divorce issues, kid issues.
No.
We don't do that here.
We don't do that here.
No, we don't.
And then at the same time, don't we do that anyway? Right? Like we're the ones at Sunday brunch, like, so
Yeah.
we're laughing and chuckling, but I heard you say that you were having trouble sleeping. Call me later. We'll talk about it.
That is so true.
It's like, as much as I'm like, let me be Dionne very much gets into people's minds and issues. Like,
Yep.
That's an interesting thread. Like, I just ordered waffles, Dionne. It just, I know you ordered waffles last time. Let's talk about that. I don't know. I mean, so there's this huge part that we can't escape ourselves.
No. But it's nice when you can be yourself, because sometimes we don't get permission because there's a standard, right? And I think, and I'm thinking about when I was on a licensing board, there's a standard for us to be perfect. There's a standard for us to not make mistakes and for our kids to be perfect, right? It's like what the pastors have. Their kids better not make a mistake because it's, oh my God, we can't have addiction issues or mental health issues or have depression or have bad days, because it's, in the moment that we're human, we're not that thing that people think of. There's a look down experience, right? We have a devaluing experience.
Right. That is such a good point, especially with COVID and the political climate. It's like so your clients, I'm pretty sure this happens to you. Like y'all hear people's stories every day, and I just wonder, how do you handle it? Or it's the presumption that you do handle
Mm-hmm.
it.
Mm-hmm.
And the crazy thing is, I do, because there's a separation that we learn that that's people's load to bear.
Yeah.
So it's voyeuristic to be like, let me carry your load for you. Let me be angst and tormented about your load. No, that's your load. So there's this great line of separation. So it always throws me off. And I'm like, I just be thinking, are you okay? And I'm like, wait, we're in the room.
But let me ask, was it difficult to have that separation when the Floyd death happened? Was that difficult when you saw, especially when you saw the other incidents where there were people who were being murdered? Was it difficult? So when they were activated and COVID was happening, were you having difficulty with that separation?
So I got to be long-winded.
We got 6 minutes.
We got 6 minutes.
Take your time.
It's gonna be like part 2, part 3, because Dionne just won't stay on chair. The short answer is no.
Okay.
I will say I allowed myself to be activated when it showed up in the room. Right? Like for some clients, it was completely blank. So I just went there with them. It was like it wasn't even happening because they were in their own spaces.
Yeah.
And it didn't even enter the room. But for the clients where it did enter, I would let it coast for like 30 seconds, check in with myself, like, okay, we get ready to go there. But depending on what I think the client can handle, I retreated from it. It's like that therapeutic relationship is so dynamic. I didn't have a don't talk about George Floyd.
Yeah.
How did you handle it?
It's funny, there's that, we go into that zone where it's their stuff and we're part of their experience. We watch it, we facilitate it. But by the 5th person and them breaking down and screaming scared, it started, I'm like, ooh. I started noticing, why am I not having a reaction? Because I've got sons. I was like, why am I not having a reaction? By that 6th person, I was like, ooh, I'm activated. Because as a mom, I'm thinking that could be my son with his, someone's on his neck, right? And I think that I was activated. And there were times I didn't realize I was activated. Like when I would be eating candy and I'm eating, ice cream. And I'm like, why am I eating so much, putting on all this amazing weight? Because sometimes, it's hard not to be activated, but your activation is not supposed to come in this session. but I had an awareness that, whoa, that
Yeah.
this is heavy stuff, especially when the people who are being harmed look just like you. And their safe space has been shaken up, and our safe space has been shaken up. And I remember talking recently to someone saying, the impact it's had on the, I know you don't like the word BIPOC, Black, African American clinicians is different from other clinicians
Different
because we have all these other things that we've been impacted by, right?
layers
And
upon layers.
layers and upon layers. And like everyone else, sometimes there aren't enough places where we can pour ourselves into because we've been forced to come out of our office into our home. So even how we work is different.
Right. And
Yeah.
it then leads to this complicated space of how do you take care of yourself
Yeah.
while you've been living this way, right? That because of our identification, we come across all of this energy all the time. So when you
Hmm.
hear the majority culture, like, oh,
Yeah.
I went and took a walk and I drank a cup of tea and I played with my dog to self-care. I'm like, I gotta remember to do
To do
that
that,
because
to be
I've
my
been
best client. Or be better than my best client. Right.
we've been living this. So that data
Yes.
that we get in, it's very familiar. We get activated, but it's, you end the session, you go to tend to your personal life, you tend to your family, and you just carry it with you.
Hmm.
And you have to remember, oh yeah,
Hmm.
I'm part of that
Yeah.
too.
Hmm. Hmm. I'm part of that experience. And I think that self-care is important. That, I'm not sure if you can hear it. I keep Alexa on spa all the time. And I have not been in a spa since March.
Good. Good.
Because it has to keep me at this level so that I can remember to
Yeah.
breathe, and I have got to walk. So my kids are loving it. They're like, oh, I don't got to walk my dog. I walk that dog constantly. I love that dog. This is my therapeutic dog.
Emotional support.
Emotional support for me.
Look, however and whatever works.
Yeah, yeah. Because if you don't connect with it, it will connect with you and take over, which is why
You
people are
got it.
saying there have been more ethical violations with clinicians because of that. There have been more people
Look, I was about to
relapsing.
say honey child, right? Let me just go with it. Honey child, yes. Yes, that dual relationship, the walking
Mm-hmm.
into spaces that you're not allowed to go normal,
Mm-hmm.
but clients are feeling isolated, clinicians are feeling isolated, and
Absolutely.
so we really, and maybe down the road, we need to talk about how do people find. I know we're not supposed to use this word, but I use this word fondly. How to not find crazy therapists.
How about, can you speak on that?
Girl,
Just how you that thing, quick.
we have a
Snatch and grab. They snatch your money and grab you up.
Exactly. I mean, in the pandemic, the stories I'm hearing, like, this girl is nuts. Then you go in your phone, take this person out of my database for
Well, where do you practice that? I gotta make sure I don't refer to. No, no, no.
your clients come back and they're like, yeah, this person, okay. And you don't want to interview them, but I do find myself,
Yeah,
please tell me about your experience because I can't be connected to crazy.
yeah,
Please let me
absolutely.
know if somebody is inappropriate or mishandling you.
Hmm.
That's a
Absolutely,
whole topic for
absolutely, absolutely. And that's the thing, is that when we refer people, it's a gift. Like for me, it's like I'm referring to someone who is just like me, better than me, or different, but in a great way than me.
right,
And then
right.
when they come back broken or like it didn't work out, I'm like, oh, because the room gets smaller for
Oh no,
us.
yeah,
And we realize the
right.
importance of getting really good work and having a really good healer or clinician. That's really
A
important.
gift. And
Hmm.
you expect people on the other side to be very that whole harming
Yeah,
of the public.
yeah,
That's
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is for that reason that sometimes it's hard to refer clients, but it's also hard for clinicians to go to other clinicians because they want to put themselves in people's hands who they can trust and who they know can be skilled, because we can outthink people fast and we can spot a not so great clinician and it gives us an excuse to not go. But we'll say sometimes even a weak clinician is better than no clinician. Sometimes some people are really harmful, but if you have a clinician who has a great heart and they're working on their practice and they have supervision, they could be a great listener. And you're
Right,
getting a double because you're getting a supervisor on top of that person. Right.
right, right.
Yeah.
And the business side of it, clinicians not showing up, clinicians with ineffective business practices, like
Mhm.
that, all of that matters. But
Absolutely.
so we got to pick that up. I know we're running out of time, and you see, I'm struggling with like trying to contain myself. Uh,
Do you want to say the last thing before we go?
you do the last thing. You do the last thing.
That the gift that we hope that you take from this is the importance of self-care and really doing your work of finding people who live up to the name that they claim they do. If you want a great clinician, make sure they've done great things. They have the credentials that match up to what you needed as a great experience, a healing experience. Um, we hope that you can join us again next week. Like and subscribe and invite your friends so that we can have more content for you. And I am going to ask Dionne to end in the last word. What do you want to say, Miss Dionne? You're full, like you're gonna burst.
I am full. Okay. In the spirit of self care and for us as clinicians caring for each other, what we didn't talk about last time, and I want to make sure that we emphasize that these are windows and not productions. That we want to give people glimpses into life, talking about Black life, talking about business life, but these are not productions. So
Mhm.
come with a full heart, be open to experiences. Candice and I are not always right. Uh,
Absolutely. No, I'm always right. Always.
well, we not say that in public.
Often.
So, all the time. I'm a therapist. I'm always
Not. We're human.
right. And come with a soulful and glad heart. And thank you everybody for joining us. I hate this part of it, so I will always defer to Candice for that. The last word is peace and well, that's two words, peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings. See you next week.